What is happening, everyone? This is Dwaylen from the Speak Your Boldly Sports Podcast, coming with you with episode 10 of Boxing Talk. I just want to talk about the 154-pound weight class, specifically Boots versus Virgil Ortiz, Jerron Boots Ennis. I saw a couple of clips of interviews with Bozy Ennis, the trainer of Jerron Ennis' dad. I'm paraphrasing, but I guess they were saying, as far as next for Boots won't be Virgil because they're looking at the two champions, Fundora and also Josh Kelly. Um, and I'm gonna slide myself in here and give my opinion there. I would do the same thing. Not from my perspective. For me, if I was in that position as a champion boxer, and if I'm saying, which Boo said in the pivot interview with Fred Taylor, Channing, and Ryan Clark, that he's looking for a legacy. So you want to be undisputed. So unless Virgil swoops in and either fights, let's say if Boots is able to get the Fundora fight, Virgil go after Josh Kelly or vice versa, and that's how they meet for undisputed. Cool, but if not, if I'm Boots, like yeah, I'm gonna go fight Josh Kelly, I'm gonna fight Fundora for undisputed or vice versa. And you have fans saying that Boots is ducking Virgil, blah 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 blah. No one cares. Like Virgil Ortiz currently does not hold the belt at 154. That's his badge. He was at the weight class before Boots. You should have tried to grab a belt. So tough business, bro. But based off what Boots has been saying, along with what Bozier said, they ain't going after undisputed. So I wouldn't be surprised if everything works out the way they see it. Like I'm assuming Boots' next two fights will be potentially Kelly then Fundora, and then maybe he'll defend it if he wins both of those fights. Defend it versus Virgil, like cool. If they choose to do that, that is a big fight on paper. I said I have Boots beating Virgil. It's gonna look like the standing on this fight, in my opinion. I think it'll go longer than standing on this fight, but I have Boots beating Virgil. I'm not saying it won't be competitive. The idea, I know Virgil was doing a lot of talking during and after the Zayas fight, that he was saying if he got Boots in that position, that he would finish him. But here's the thing that even people say going into the Zayas fight with Zayas, Karen was able to box Boots and move around and use angles. Zayas does that well. But the thing is, my thing is, how do you get in position? How do you put Boots in positions where you can hit him? How do you put Boots in a position where you do have him off balance or and where you can capitalize? Tell me that. How do you get him in that position? What do you want to do? That's my question. Or if yeah, if I have Boots in that position, what I'm gonna do? Nothing. But that's my thing. Get in the position first. Let's see what actually happens. Because it's already y'all keep saying like in the predictions leading up to that fight with Zayas, some people were hedging their predictions. I have Boots should win this. He's a clear fighter. He should win this. But it was always a but. But you know, Karen was able to do X, Y, Z. The only fight y'all can point to is the Karen fight, and that's valid. I give with them, that's valid. But there was always a hedge. But Zayas can box, or for some people, he's bigger, or whatever what came after the but. Mainly, it was that he can box. So we'll see. People never has a right to their opinion. But my thing is, with this Ortiz fight, it's going to have to be. To me, I think he have to show some other wrinkles in his game. I'm not saying he don't have them, and maybe what he has is enough to beat Boots, which I don't think he does. I'm not saying it's going to be a wash. I'm not saying he won't have moments. And also with that fight, when we talk about impatient, and also with Virgil, especially going back to the Bulchuk fight, when he got knocked down, and I believe it was Greg Hackett that made the mention that he fights paraphrase, like a kid. I'm not going to find the clip. It was one of the YSM videos, but he was mentioning like when a kid gets mad when they don't get their way, kind of like how Virgil gets. Like he got the flash knocked down, and he just came after Boa Truck. And he was just high guard. He was coming, throwing everything hard. And I'm saying with Boots is like both of them with Boots being patient, and also with Virgil like keeping your composure. Don't open up too much because one thing with Boots is he's fast, he can punch, he has power, and he's accurate. So you may be opening up, pop, pop, and you get hit with some some quick and hard, straight up, no pause, no diddy on that joint, quick and hard. So it's just we gotta see, we gotta see. But as far as leading up to the fight, like I said, as a fan, I would want to see from a style matchup. I want to see the Josh Kelly Boots fight. To me, that's the most interesting fight from a style perspective, in my opinion. So we gotta see what happens with that one. I like that fight. I like the Fundora fight because it's so intriguing. You got this tall dude that can fight on the inside. You got long arms. Like how Boots? What you gonna do? I got him winning all these fights. I'm a fan. I've been sold on Boots like long before Zayas, uh, long even before the Karen fights, and I was like, it is what it is. I'm sold. I'm a fan. So let's see what happens with that. In other news, which I know most have heard, uh, Conor Ben versus Ryan has official. Darn, I forgot the date on that fight, but I know it's gonna be in Vegas. That's gonna be a good scrap. Got Ryan in that fight. I like focus Ryan. Hope he comes with it fully healthy. Same thing with Conor Ben. That's gonna be a good, entertaining scrap. Good scrap. Uh, so we'll see what happens with that one. To versus Rolly. Another good scrap. 147. They getting it cracking. We'll see. I got a Rolly in that fight. I'm not predicting like KOs or I don't know right now. Uh, I, I'll just say right now I can see Rolly versus To going to decision, and I could see Ryan versus a KO for Ryan versus Conor Ben or KO. So I see KO. Um, so we got to see what happens. You know what I'm saying? Got to see what happens. What's going on in the boxing world? Trying to think. I've been. You still got the Devin Haney, Shakur, Keyshawn Davis, Tank Davis drama. Richardson Hitchens. I'm not about to get off all on that. Richard, Mr. Hitchens. Unless it's crazy. I'm not about to go down that hole. There's too much going on with that don't necessarily got to do with the sport per se. It's like personal and whatever that personally has been made public, but some of that. But as far as the fights, um, I'll say this: as far as Shakur, I don't see how with him signing to Zuffa, um, how he gets the fights with some of the other names in the sport with Golden Boy, PBC, Top Rank, Matchroom, Queensberry, all signing whatever deals they did with the Zone to fight exclusive on that platform, and then he's over here with Zoo on that platform, Paramount platform. Um, I do know I should have looked at more in the details. Forgive me for that. But with the Ryan and Conor Ben fight, I'll have to look at the details on that to see how. My understanding, Conor Ben is signed with Zuffa, so just how that went down. With Ryan being with Golden Boy, just how that all that works from that standpoint, and how that came about. So, is this a sign of things to come, or was this just a one-off, or were there some concessions and some surrendering, or is this really work in progress? That's right. Oh, rewind, rewind. I think they said in America is going to be on Paramount. In the other countries, UK, wherever else, it's going to be on the Zone. I think that's how that goes. Yeah. So maybe it's possible. I We'll see. I know Ryan tweet. Yeah, we'll see. I'm not about to dive deep on that. I just want to touch on a few things. So we'll see. But I don't see as far as we'll see. As far as Devin and Shakur, Devin and Keyshawn, he go Devin gonna do what's best for him. Him and Bill. You know, personally, I would like to see Devin keep his belt, the WBO, and fight Keyshawn. But and I do believe like the Devin and Shakur fight is way more interesting. Both fights are interesting, like far as what's going to happen in the ring, because their styles are similar. And to see, I feel like in that fight, Devin Shakur, Devin's going to be at moments be the come forward fighter, like really and push Shakur back. Now, as far as the Keyshawn Davis and Devin Haney fight, man, Keyshawn having I think 15 fights. And he's to me, Keyshawn's like a well balanced fighter, like good defense, good offense, good hand speed, good foot speed. Like he's really like, and he's still developing. But he that to me that fight could go either way. I would lean Devin Haney due to experience, being in big fights, being seeing different styles, having more experience, even though they're like a similar age, but just different stages of their career. Could go either way. Same thing with Shakur. I see both of those at 50-50 fights. I don't see an advantage to either or. So either way, it's good fights. What I don't like from Shakur end is like they them two don't want to fight each other. But let's say if Devin does end up signing with Zuffa, and of course they will probably and that sure would be the first fight that needs to get made in my opinion. That would have been two times that Shakur would have snaked two opponents from your homeboy from Keyshawn Davis. And as far as a career standpoint, it's one thing to get the belt, if Devin does end up dropping the belt, it's one thing to get the belt, but then also who you beat does, to me, that does matter. That's like me saying I'm a WBC champion and I beat up, a 5-year old. I'm walking around like how Martin was on that episode when they was doing them little exhibition for charity. He walking around like he really like that. It's like, bro, it's just, something like that. And I think I'm, solidified. I'm in the rankings now. But I think for Keyshawn beating, not just winning the WO, but taking it from Devin, because Devin is a name in the sport of boxing. He's not the face of boxing from the standpoint of generating money like a Tank Davis or Floyd Mayweather or Canelo Alvarez. Not from that standpoint. Yeah, he may get to that. But as far as just he is a name within the sport. Like, so his name holds weight. If you beat Devin, like that is saying something. If you beat Shakur, that is saying something. If you beat Tank, that is saying something. If you beat David Benefit Vitas, that is saying something. If you beat Jerron Boots Ennis, that's saying something. If you beat Terrence Crawford, that is saying something. Like, or you give them a good fight, that's saying something. If you give Floyd a good fight, oh, he got hit. That's just legit. Um, so I'm not gonna deny that aspect of the fight game of boxing. So I want to see Keyshawn Davis get those opportunities. He's a more entertaining fighter than Shakur. Even though I like Shakur's style and everything like that. But we'll see what happens with that. As far as Tank, let's see what happens as far as when he comes. Supposedly not coming back to 2027. We'll see what's out there when that happens. Uh, Shakur on the Zone platform. That's a good fight. It's a cool fight. I'll have Shakur in that fight, winning that with no problem. Uh, I would have to see what game plan Ryo has. I think the thing with for me, I'm just kind of talking about each one. I'm still tanking here with the Ryo and Shakur thing. when I look at the fights between, okay, let me flip this right here. When I look at the fights with Devin versus Shakur, Tank versus Dev, and then Shakur versus Tank, for me, I'm looking at when I say speed, foot speed and hand speed. I think is we know power belongs to Tank. That goes without question. IQ, it depends. So many aspects of IQ. It's not. I guess you say overall boxing IQ just depends on what you like because even Tank shows IQ with setting up his knockouts. Shakur shows good IQ with his distance management and being able to control that. Devin shows good IQ with how he distributes his jab. So it's different elements. Like I just can't say, oh, Shakur off bat because he's just not getting hit, but he's also sometimes not even in range for to hit his opponent. So it's layers when you're talking about IQ, in my opinion. Nobody could correct me, and you know that can go a different way. But for me, I think with all three of those fights, it will come down to me foot speed and hand speed. I feel like with Shakur, distance management, his ability that quick step back, that he goes straight back and couldn't goes back to controlling range. If Dev or Tank, if they aren't fast enough from a foot speed standpoint to keep up with Shakur from that standpoint, I know Shakur stays right in front of defenses. He'd be right there. We'll see what he does with Tank. If they do fight, I don't. We'll see. But from that standpoint, I'm looking at the speed factor. I think that really determines these fights initially. Because like you can have power, but if you can't land it, that's the thing. We know Tank is very accurate. Shakur is very accurate with his punches. I think Devin is very accurate as well as a puncher with the punches and his placement. I feel like out of three, Tank is probably the most accurate in the placement of his shots. So it's just interesting. So many elements when you actually just break down the fights and looking at these attributes. Like look at the hand speed, foot speed, agility, defense. Nothing overall defense. You would say like Shakur, that's his ability to keep away. You may say Devin's the most susceptible to shots, but we haven't really seen Shakur hurt. We've seen Tank hit. Even I think in the eighth round versus Roach, where he landed probably his best punch. But you never seen even versus Barrios. Tank got rocked. It was around the eighth, ninth round. Devin, we know what happened with the Ryan Garcia fight, and also the Linares when he got hit as well. So he's shown to have one with Devin. He's shown to have a good heart. But I'm not gonna keep going on. But it's just so many things to consider. That's really interesting. So hopefully those fights get made for real. I'm looking forward to see what happens, and also with this first bid with Devin and Keyshawn, what direction, what all happens. And I think with Keyshawn, if I'm him, it's like, hey, I'm carving out my own path. I'm at 147. I'm fighting whoever I can get. If I can't get Dev, cool. If that don't end up happening, it's like, hey, I'm still going after the belts. If it's fight Ryan Norman Jr., whoever it may be, you know. So yeah, we'll see what happens with boxing. Let's see.